All right, so what I have on the board is the 2004 free response question number 2. Calculators are allowed. We're going to score this here today in class. And it starts by saying there are two functions, f of x and g of x. And it gives f of x as the product of 2x and the binomial 1 minus x. And it gives g of x as the product of 3 times the binomial x minus 1 times the radical square root of x. And they want this to be from 0 to 1. All right? And the first question is find the area. The area here should be really simple. A should have been easy. Area would be the integral from a to b. Well, in this case, a to b is 0 to 1. All right? And it's going to be the difference of the functions, f of x minus g of x dx. All right? Now, if I do this, I can write this out. 0 to 1, and I get 2x times 1 minus x minus 3 times, and I'll put that in parentheses, x minus 1 square root of x dx. All right, if you have the integral written like this that I just wrote, the second one, that's a point. Now, we can enter this verbatim in the calculator. Okay, so using the TIV4, I got a result of, and again, this is an older test. You guys should go 4 decimal places, okay?
What if we wrote the exact fraction?
You wrote the exact fraction? That's fine too. All right. You should make sure this.
17/15ths.
Is that 17/15ths?
Yes.
You check the decimal.
Yes.
All right. Then 17/15ths is correct then too. And guys, the thing is, don't get caught up doing this longhand. All right. What I mean by that is, this is something you probably could integrate. But if it's much faster just to type it exactly as it is, all right, and go from there, all right?
That would have saved me time.
If you integrate it by hand, it's a lot of work. All right, if you have the answer, that's another point. So this one is worth 2 points. This is letter A. Okay, so 2 points
I
possible.
mean, it didn't say that we could use our calculator on this one, so I just assumed.
Okay, it did on number 1. And 1, 2, 3 are always calculator problems. 4, 5, 6 never are. Remember?
Right, but 1 and 2 were on one page, and that one specified you can use your calculator. This one didn't, so I just assumed.
Bad assumption. All right, so there is letter A. 17/15ths, 1.133. 2 points. All right, the next one is worth 4 points total, so B is the big one. Find the volume of the solid generated when the shaded region enclosed by the graphs F and G is revolved about the line y equals 2. I'm going to use the picture of the graph, and I'm going to cheat. It's going to be a little out of scale. But do we agree we're going to revolve around that line? Okay? Do we agree then? Volume in this case is the integral from a to b of ax dx. It has to be dx. Do we agree? Okay? And we know that our limits this time, a and b, are 0 and 1. They gave us those, right? We're going to revolve that around here. And this is where it gets a little tricky, all right? We have to see this as Ri, the inside radius, and Ro. Do you guys agree? So do you guys agree this is a ring or a washer? Okay? And again, I always draw the picture personally, all right? And I know I have Ro and Ri. Inside is Ri, outside is Ro. So over here I have from 0 to 1 of pi Ro squared minus pi Ri squared dx. I have to calculate what Ro and Ri are. All right? And if I use the picture on top, that usually is the easiest way. So if I go to a little bit smaller view so we can see everything. Oh, there's already 75%. All right, we're going to go 50% just for a little bit. All right? You have to catch here that this distance right here is f of x. So when I look at Ri, I know f of x plus Ri equals 2. Well, if you solve that for Ri, you're going to find that Ri is 2 minus f of x. All right? Now, what is Ro this time? Well, Ro, again, you got to be careful when you solve it. you're going to find it's 2 minus g of x, okay? And we've talked about this. They always are subtraction, aren't they? So that's what the, and I can do that by saying, this is 2. Well, g of x is this distance, but it's going to be negative. 2 minus a minus is 2 plus, right? Because the result of g of x, the value of that's going to be negative. So we can see that these are the two things. Well, now can I go back to a smaller view and input those? And the answer is yeah, I can. Go back to 75%, because I don't really need the picture anymore. I will need the functions here in a second. I will pull pi out. I will go 0 to 1, and I will actually write 2 minus g of x squared minus 2 minus f of x squared. And you have to have the quantity squared, okay? dx. If you have the limits 0 to 1 and you have pi on the outside, give yourself a point. The limits in pi and the limits are worth a point right now. If you have this integrand right here, give yourself 2 points. Okay? Now we have to work this to an answer. All right? Again, I would do this in my calculator. I will input. What I would put in my calculator is this, and you've got to be careful here. Do you guys agree g of x is 3 times x minus 1 times the square root of x squared minus 2 minus 2x times x minus 1 minus x. I started writing it the wrong way. Squared dx. All right, and if you put this in your calculator verbatim, just like it is, all right, TI-84, I get 16.179. That is another point. All right, so from the AP standpoint, there are 4 points here. Let's go through them again. Pi, 0, and 1. The limits and the constant is a point. Okay. The integrand is worth 2 points, and there are some deductions here, okay? But right now we're just going to score. You either have it for 2 points or you don't have any of it. They give a rule for errors, but we'll figure that out as we go. Finally, the answers are worth a point. 16.179. So think about it. A and B is 6 points. So if we kind of go by our 2/3 rule, if you get both of these, you're on your way to doing pretty well. Letter C, in all fairness, is quite a bit harder than the other two, all right? So if I shrink that down, and I'll stick that up here, all right? Letter C says, let h be the function given by h of x equals kx times 1 minus x from 0 to 1. For k greater than 0, the region not shown. So there's no picture of this. The region not shown enclosed by the graphs of h and g is the base of a solid with square cross-sections perpendicular to the x-axis. There's a k value with which the bottom of the solid is equal to 15. Write but do not solve an equation for the integral expression. Okay, so I'm going to erase my thing. They're giving us a new function. They're using g of x. They're giving you a new function h of x. All right? And they're saying instead of revolving around and using a ring or a washer, they're saying the cross-sectional areas are squares. All right? So again, I would start with this. Do we agree volume equals A to B, since it's perpendicular to the x-axis? Do you all agree with this? What kind of shape do we have? Squares. Do we agree that a square is just L by L? So again, 0 to 1, L squared dx. Well, there's a big problem. You can't have L squared, right? So we have to calculate what L is. When you read the problem here, it is replacing f of x with h of x. This is hard to see, right? So if I go back to the picture, I don't care that this is, for letter C, I can pretend that this is h of x. All right? Well, what's the length of the side? Well, do you guys agree any of the squares right there is the length? I think the length is the difference of h of x and g of x. So back down here, I just have L equals h of x minus g of x. So I'll plug that in. 0 to 1, quantity of h of x minus g of x, quantity squared, right? dx. And what do they say? Instead of saying, then this equals the volume, but what do you know about the volume this time? In the problem it said there's a value of k where the volume equals 15, all right? So we can put, instead of v here, and this has been v the whole way, right? What can you replace v with? You can replace v with 15, all right? And this integrant right here, before I go on to the next step and write it all out, that is worth 2 points. Okay? The last one here is worth a point. So here I go. I know it's 0 to 1. H of x, they told you, is k of x times 1 minus x. And then it told you g of x was, and I'll put that in parentheses to make sure it distributes, 3 times x minus 1 square root of x. That didn't change. You guys agree? That whole quantity squared, dx. And that's the answer. All right. So, again, and if I, again, see this would make 9 points, all right? It's the value of the integrants, all right? And we're done this way. Again, this is the 2004 question number 2.